there aren't like emerging pharmacists, right? There's no like emerging accountants.
Yeah.
Best artist is like emerging from their practice.
It's a label that is given to you. It's not something you say, well, I'm an emerging artist.
As artists, we have to do multiple disciplines at the same time to keep on doing creative practice.
The dream of doing what I love, but at the same time being able to pay my bills all at once.
Sometimes my art can be political and be subjected actually to algorithmic filtration.
You easily can be lost in the algorithm, figuratively and literally.
Raise your hand if you've heard somebody say this to you. This is not art.
How can we actually dismantle the Western model of thinking and imagining the world?
I like to create pixelated scenery that represents Riyadh, because I live here and so I see a lot of inspiration from here.
Okay, we're going to take a vote. Social media, net positive or negative for artists?
Aye.
Welcome to a very special episode of the Afikra podcast. My name is Mikey Mhenna. As you can see, we're somewhere different. We are recording live in Riyadh at the Art Futures. This is the second episode as part of this sort of like mini-series that we're doing. And today we're talking with three emerging artists, which I'm really excited about. We have with us Khaled Makshoush, Youssef Idrissi, and I, Abu Ghazaleh, from three different places, all talking about their practice and what they're doing here. Okay, so let's start. Khaled, I want to start with you. Give us just like a broad introduction to yourself, where you're coming from, what you do, and we'll take from there.
Yes, my name is Khaled Makshoush. I am an artist, digital artist, specifically pixel art, based here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I like to create pixelated scenery that represents my experience, especially regarding the way that I see places, landscapes, cityscapes, and especially like about Riyadh, because I live here and so I see a lot of inspiration from here. And I've been doing art since 2016, and I started from the beginning throughout the internet and social media, then it sort of evolved from there.
Yeah. I like how you're like, I'm a digital artist.
It's with digital artists, I feel like it's very hard to define.
Yeah.
Because digital art is like a huge umbrella, right?
Yeah.
Because if you said like I'm an oil painter, it's like it's very specific. But digital art could be, you could make 3D or you could make digital paintings, but it's all under the same thing. So sometimes you have to specify, which is a part of it.
Cool.
But, yeah.
Youssef, what about you?
I'm Youssef Idrissi, multidisciplinary artist, researcher, cultural engineer. My artistic practice actually is a combination of mediums. Like I use general like installation, poetry, digital mediums, sound, and different kind of things, like depending actually on the team and the specificity actually of what I'm working on. I began actually working, I think from 2015. As far as like officially, let's say, like to practice, and that's.
Where in Morocco are you coming from?
I'm from Casablanca.
Okay, cool. I want to come back to that in a second. Aya, what about you?
Hi, I am Aya, Abu Ghazaleh. I'm Man Jordan. So I'm a visual artist, art therapist, and I've started like doing art and exhibits back in 2012, I guess, where the first actually exhibition I participated in. And I found myself actually play with all kind of mediums like painting, oil painting, sometimes new media like digital art. And it depends on when and where and how. So I play.
Yeah. So I kind of want to back up to when you guys first applied to this program, like why you decided to apply to the program, the idea of being an emerging artist, where you're like, does that make sense to me? Am I emerging? Am I like, does this make sense for me? Youssef, you're nodding. Let's start with you. Like why were you attracted to the program? Where were you in your practice? Did you think that this was a home run?
Yeah, for me, I think it literally matched the timing because I wanted to dedicate more time to art, because I think as artists, specifically in the region, we have to face a lot of precarity and we have to do multiple disciplines at the same time in order actually to keep on doing creative practice. And it was quite the right timing for me, like to dedicate 90 or 100% of the time to creative practice.
Yeah.
That's where I was in a sense, and I was also like transitioning. I left actually a collective that I've founded, and so it was a kind of liminal kind of space before applying.
What do you guys actually do all day? Like, when you're part of this type of program, like what does your like schedule, Khaled, what does your schedule actually look like when you're working on this?
In the beginning of the program, it was educational part, which was a different schedule, but now it's more a production. So it basically fits what I work. It's certainly shifted a little bit, but not a lot, because I usually work with like a certain flow, and I feel like the way that things are structured, it kind of helps you to work in your own way. So yeah, I mean, and to go back to your previous question about the program applying, like for me personally, it was more of wanting to get out of my comfort zone, because like as a digital artist, I got like comfortable doing way and it's certain things, and I still love it. It's my main thing that I create, but I want to do something different, to take something more technical, more physical. And I felt like the program what offered, it's like, yes, it's a perfect time to take. It's a bit of a risk, but at the same time, I have a team and all of that, and I can see how things that are outside of the screen works and do something like I'm not used to do.
Yeah. You were talking about being like playful and just trying to try new things, mixing media, challenging yourself. Why did this program like appeal to you, given that tendency?
Okay, so I'm gonna answer it through the previous actually question.
Yeah,
because,
answer it the way you want to.
Because actually it's the first time I would say I found myself like not doing like a full-time job, like whatever it is, like teaching or maybe working in design or something like that. So I took it like when we say like a year gap for doing for doing what you love, let's say. But I'm taking the advantage of being here and continue actually working online with my collective, for example. But at the same time, preparing for next, what next, like after here, like, and you know, I'm just like finding myself like doing some strategy or like, let's say, playful strategies for me to have the dream job of like doing what I love, but at the same times being able to pay my bills and like doing it all at once. So this is why one of the reasons I said, okay, let's have a year doing something that I love, try to make it happen when it comes to online working and preparing for next exhibition or something like that. Yeah, so I'm playing.
Did you guys know each other beforehand? I mean, is there a emerging artist scene across the region where you guys would know each other?
Can I answer that?
Yeah, answer.
Actually, I think I knew Dia, one of the people. Actually, he's from Tunisia, and we were like, I was invited in a program where he was also part of somehow, and I think I knew him like indirectly. It wasn't really like knowing him, but we just, let's say, our path crossed.
Yeah.
For me, I know Turkey, which is another Saudi artist in the program, because I mean we're good friends before the program, and because how the scene is here, like you meet people. But the other artists I only met through the program. I mean, obviously because we are from different countries and all of that, which is interesting on its own.
Because, like, for example, like you exist. I've known your work for a while, and part of the reason why I know your work is just Instagram.
Yeah,
and so it's like we exist in like physical spaces, but it's like so much of our work just is in this like digital world.
Yes, and that's to me what I'm breaking from. Well, I'm not breaking from, but like I'm trying to get more comfortable with, which is the physicality of things and introduce myself physically. Because for many years I was like anonymous online, just posting artwork, and it's only recently where I've been like doing programs, and certainly like a program like this, like it puts you on the front things, and I mean it's its own challenge, but I feel like it's rewarding in its own way to be physically, like you say.
Yeah. Do you feel like people know what it means? Like, or did you know? Man, forget people. Like, did you guys know when earlier on in your career what the career of an emerging artist would look like? Like, what does it even mean to be an emerging artist?
That's a good question.
Even the idea of like the word emerging is hilarious. And no, like you're what are you emerging into? Are you changing? Are you transforming? What does that? Yeah.
I think it may mean like the full professionalization of the art practice, because many artists, I think throughout the world, actually don't have the same opportunities or the visibility to their practice, and maybe immersion is technically immersion to the public eye, if this may make sense. I think this is also what it meant to me to some extent. So
yeah, because it's like there aren't like emerging pharmacists, right? There's no like emerging accountants. So I'm just emerging into my own.
Yeah.
Best artist is like emerging from their practice, right? And trying to is that right? No. Please correct me.
I don't understand actually the labels.
Yeah.
At the time, like, okay, am I emerging, established, or what am I doing? Because I found myself like doing it after like really graduating in 2013, and it's been now like more than 10 years, but I don't know where I am.
Yeah.
So labels are good. Yani sometimes we say like under 35 or like between this year and but we don't know, like, I mean, each other, like they have their own path and story. So.
Yeah.
And also, I want to add is that it's a label that is given to you. It's not something you say, well, I'm an emerging artist. Well, sometimes you could say that, but I think most often than not is that people will say that you are this or like you are established. So sometimes you are established, sometimes you are, because it's how I think the art the art world right now, it's like it shifts so quickly, and sometimes you're this and that. And so for me, like I agree, it's like labels are helpful sometimes, and so I just play with it. Like if you want to call me that, I'm on that. If you want to, you know.
The reason why, I mean, I'm having fun with it, obviously, but it's like emerging suggests transformation, right?
Exactly.
And suggests this idea of like, okay, I kind of did it one way and now I'm exploring new modalities. I'm exploring new expressions. I'm exploring new styles, new things I care about, all these different new problems, new solutions, like all these different things. And in a case like yours, where you really had a style that I would imagine that may have felt limiting at times because of its popularity. So people are like, oh my God, you're the pixel guy. Yeah. You're the pixel guy. Yeah. Do more pixels for us. Can you do this? My grandmother needs can you make my grandmother's face in pixel? Can you do this? Like, does it ever feel, this is to everybody, does it ever feel like that you're suffocated in a style ever?
Yes, but I don't have to. I mean, I feel like it's a psychological thing. And for me, I mean, I had to deal with, because of the nature of social media and posting, I have to deal with audience from the beginning. And so most of the time people will give you stuff, suggest like, draw this, draw that, draw that. So after a while I started to know. But yes, like this is something that I'm dealing with at the moment, which is like to kind of, how do you veer out from it a little bit, but at the same time maintain the essence of that. And that's what I've been working on. And I think I try as much as I can to let it to become organically. If it's organic, it's that, then it will always have the same, I don't know, consistency or like the same spirit, if you will.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Actually, I tried actually to challenge myself since day one, like because at the beginning of my practice, I was inscribed in the glitch kind of movements. I was doing a lot of glitch visually, sonically, and all of that. But the idea actually behind it was like to challenge yourself to get out of the grid or like the conventional aesthetics and all of that. But with time, I realized it's also another kind of grid. So I tried as much as possible to not label whatever I'm doing as a sort of a style in a sense, and try to keep on being experimental as much as possible, and create maybe new ways of doing our new aesthetics, our new even mediums. Why not? And and I think that it's also one of the reasons why I came here, because when speaking about the future of art, or new media and all of that, we generally actually think about new ways of conveying art in an unconventional way. It can be actually experimental, it can be transdisciplinary, it can be combining old and new kind of mediums. And that's...
I see you over there thinking.
I'm thinking about, people would, at the beginning, they would love what you do. You will maybe, not always, like they would love what you do, but when you reach that point, you will feel, I want to do more of that. But now but for me, like now, okay, I love painting. I do create painting. I love to stretch canvas and play with colors and all of that. But at the same time, I find myself now in this era of like also, I love doing art using like the computer, or maybe trying more with the sound and, so I believe artists would put their limit, and they might have like different, let's say, different way to express themselves. And it could be like not the thing that you already started back in university. It could be something way beyond that. Like we learn every day new stuff. So.
Yeah. I want to ask you about like who some of your influences are. Do you, and especially when you're in sort of like a quasi educational environment, and you're like in learning phase and challenging yourself phase, are there folks you look at and you're like, I'm trying to absorb their work. These are some of the people that I'm trying to learn from and remix and copy and readapt and all that stuff. Youssef. You make the mistake of nodding.
Just it's not purposeful, but yeah. I think actually I do my best to, like, while creating art, I generally try to do my best to not consume art, to not be influenced by it. But at some point I realize that what you do has already been done in some way or shape or form. And I would say maybe Ryoji Ikeda's work, if you are familiar, like his Japanese work, a lot actually with data and all of that. And he used data actually as a kind of a medium. He kind of converts this data as a sonic or visual kind of storytelling. And I thought that this is interesting, and it also like reflects what's going on currently also in the world with the informational kind of age, where actually data is almost everywhere with Wi-Fi, with our phones, with almost everywhere. So taking this kind of already available kind of information and converting them in stories, I found it quite appealing and interesting idea.
Yeah. What about you, Aya?
Okay, so if I would say actually an example of artist, I would say Samia Halabi.
Yeah.
Yes. For someone who's already started with paintings and then shifted to a new media in her era, and she's like one of very famous and well known for her work. I always think about that, changing mediums and playing with stuff that you would already have, and we all have like new stuff like here in the background, and how are we gonna use it, like really? So I always question myself in this area, like what it's gonna add or how can I play with it. And now we're talking a lot about like we talked actually during workshops and talks in the program, like a glitch, AI, all of these kind of stuff. So yeah.
What about you?
I mean, yes, there are artists that I'm inspired by. I'd say like there's two elements. When I started to do pixel art, there were a lot of pixel art that inspired me on the internet, in the sense that pixel art generally has been, people think of as like related to video games, and you have to create like video games and things like that. But I saw people was kind of like self-expressing. So I saw that movement in the early 2010s as kind of like, for me, as a great inspiration. And now I feel like I take inspiration, and I have to say, I don't have any specific person, but it's rather kind of general stuff. In the sense now, where digital art is heading is where when artists exhibit or like show digital art in a new and interesting way, instead of just putting a screen on a wall. There are so many artists nowadays like creating cool stuff, and I'm always inspired by it. And there is always something different that you say, oh yeah, this is really cool. And I mean, that's kind of, for me, for this program, is where I'm kind of heading, is that how do I show in pixel art, digital art in general, in an interesting way, using the screen in an interesting way. And there are many artists, I'd say, on social media, many in Japan, actually, especially when it comes to pixel art. They're very creative in the way how they show it, combining physicality and digital. So, yeah, I mean, I'm inspired by that, and I try to find my way into it as well.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to take a vote, okay, or a poll. social media, net positive or negative for artists?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'd say a net positive.
Okay.
But I'm very biased. I see both sides, but obviously someone like me, when I started in 2016, there was, and like when it comes to the scene here compared, we talk about it now, but before in 2016, like there was like almost nothing like in the terms of digital art. So for me, I had my computer and have the program, and I started to find my audience. And that way it's direct. So I'd say just for that alone, it's been huge.
Yeah. What about you?
I would say actually it's conflictual. No, it's quite serves both ends, because for example, like sometimes my art can be political, and when it is political, sometimes it can be subjected actually to algorithmic filtration. So it doesn't always like serve necessarily the artist's visibility and all of that, because the algorithm may like some stuff more than others. For example, it likes more faces. So if you do, for example, more representational art, it may be liked more by the algorithm than the opposite. So I believe like it serves both ends. Like it gives literally a platform for artists or emergent artists or any kind of creative actually to showcase their work. But at the same time, it can be biased.
Yeah. Aya?
Do
you disagree so far? Any disagreement?
Well, I do have a small disagreement.
Yalla, let's hear it.
But I would agree on something. I think we connect with people through social media, and this is the best thing that would artists actually take advantage of. Like, people can reach you out and talk to you and share ideas, but at the same time, like, it's a big platform. Sometimes your art and presenting also art might get like lost or spoiled, and yeah, that's why we have like exhibitions and places to exhibit our work. But also, as like Youssef were saying, like it's a great platform for all of us, like to share more of the artwork that we can't actually exhibit in exhibitions. And yeah.
Yeah. What was the disagreement?
Yeah, the disagreement. The disagreement is it's about like seeing all of these artwork, and everyone is like putting everything, like, and people scrolling, and your art might like be lost in the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll add is that to both of your points is that it certainly has its own unique challenges for sure.
Yeah.
And you easily can be lost in the algorithm, figuratively and literally. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel still, in the sense that if it's net positive or a net negative, I still think it's a net positive in general, despite all of that challenges. But yes, it's definitely, yeah. I mean, especially nowadays, I assume it's even harder with AI and everything's mixed together and all of that. And where do you find yourself in that? Who knows?
Do you feel a responsibility in the program as one of the people from Riyadh to be the representative of Riyadh for the emerging artists who are a part of the program?
I mean, it's a big it's a big thing. I try to represent myself first of all, and I hope through that I present the city organically. But yes, I do, in the sense that my art does evolve Riyadh a lot, just because I live here, and so I get inspiration from it. Like I said, I mean, there's responsibility to that, but I hope I've become as natural as I am with that kind of thing.
Is he like the ambassador?
Yeah, I think he's a pretty good ambassador, actually. I would vote for him, totally.
Yeah. It's interesting, I wonder if you guys also feel, and obviously I think there are 12 folks in the program, right?
11 now. But
11, yeah. So in that program, everyone's from different places. Are you influencing each other's work? And do you feel like there is a new style that's sort of emerging out of it that's like from this stew, this khalal?
For me, I'd say I now know a lot about North Africa. The culture, the memes.
Well, you don't know a lot. You know some about North Africa.
North Africa's propaganda.
Yeah. I mean,
you know some about North Africa.
Yeah. So that's for me, with this
That's cool.
energy.
I think it's mostly like cultural interconnections, I believe, because many of us actually were curious about how things are done or even said, like linguistically speaking,
Yeah.
culturally speaking, what is acceptable, not acceptable, food-wise, and all of that. And I think it's one of the transformative things within what was happening in this months. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like now I know a lot about the food here in North Africa, and you know, I mean, there's like every day I learn new words, like, and it's challenging.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, this is part of the great thing that we're now sharing. We're sharing the space. We're sharing the culture, the food. There's like beautiful exchange that's happening.
Yeah.
Do you have like guys like Saudi words, or do you
Favorite Saudi words?
yeah, or something like you
Ewa.
learned?
Ewa?
Yeah, Ewa. Okay. Yeah, it's a good one.
Oh, I have mine. I'll tell you. By far the best Saudi word by far is marra.
Oh, okay.
far.
It's marra. Yeah, we use it.
What's your favorite?
I mean, it's all in the language for me, but I don't know. It's really hard to choose one because I live here. So if maybe I can choose a North African word, which is
Go ahead. Yeah.
Zama. Zama is my favorite. Yeah.
Nice.
That's one that I learned. Yes.
Which I had to translate actually.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about misunderstandings. What did you misunderstand about what you thought you were coming into for the program, and also like the effect it would have on your practice? Good misunderstandings, surprises, bad misunderstandings. Like, I really thought this would change, but I'm frustrated. I can't quite break through.
I would say time for experimentation, or experimenting with different mediums or technologies, or even actually to develop the work in some way, and not to be just on theoretical, let's say, level, but mostly actually to interact with materials. I will interact with different kind of mediums and to be able to experiment. I believe that this was a possibility, but I realized, like, while being in here, it's complicated, or I misunderstood it, or
So it took time actually to understand first the environment that we're in, Riyadh.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, I would say now. It's really beautiful. But for me, it took me time to understand and accept and like actually, and know how to move around. And then it come other could be challenges. It could be like it's part of the journey, like to know where you stand, what do you wanna now do, and think that you can keep for later. But it come also to experimenting with new tools.
What about you?
For me, I'd say working with a team, because I'm really used to working with myself, like doing everything A to Z. And I mean, it's a misunderstanding that it goes both positive and negative, because I don't really, before this program, I didn't understand the dynamic, how things work, and at the same time understand my need for a team. That's why I came here. And so this is one of the things that I'm figuring out at the moment, is like, how do I incorporate that, working with people, how to take this opinion, to maybe not, to have your own vision, but at the same time see where other people say. I mean, this whole dynamic of working with other people is, it's been...
Okay, so you know those videos like "What's in my bag"? Have you seen those videos on YouTube, like where people like open up their bag and like, "Oh, this is my these are my essentials." Okay,
I didn't bring my bag.
No, but do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so I want to ask you that question, but sort of like think about like your professional toolkit. Like, what does it take to be successful as an emerging artist? So like, if you were speaking to a 21-year-old and they're like, "What's in your bag?" What are the actual tools that you really, really need? Both like physical tools, but also like you got to get your calendar put together. You need to figure out your portfolio. Like, what does it take to be a successful emerging artist who gets into programs like this, who establishes a following online, who figures out how to put together a collective, who builds a career? What's in your bag?
I'd say for me, if digital art specifically, obviously you need some computer, at least, and
Okay.
that's a start. That's
Like internet connection.
yeah, internet connection, and everything. I'd say also consistency and patience as well. It's really easy in social media to see things moving fast, and you're thinking, "Oh, I'm lagging behind, or I'm this or that." I think that's really important to just be consistent, create what you like. But yeah, sketchbook, a pen. Sometimes it really helps to write or even sketch your ideas. Be playful and open to the world, I'd say.
Go ahead.
I think he almost said most of it, but I would add
Like skills beyond the actual tools, like skills as well.
Okay. Yeah, I would say actually, first of all, like faith in what you are doing, like, and maybe confidence or assurance, because generally when you are beginning as an artist, you don't have the validation from the public or whatever. So you need really to have confidence or faith in whatever you are doing. I would say I would put this the first thing. And then maybe computer, and also having the patience and the consistency actually to accept refusal, because many of artists actually may apply to things for grant or for something actually to have projects made, but they may receive a lot of refusal. Yeah. So I would say that just actually keeping the assurance or having the will of skill. And in terms of skill, I think it depends, because it's like, for me at least, actually the medium is really a medium in a sense, because I work mostly actually with creative coding and sound, and also like the first introduction was also a computer. Like I think it's quite essential, like computer and internet connection. And and plus what actually had already said, I think sketchbook actually, because sometimes you may have idea in the middle of the night and you want actually to sketch them, so you don't forget it the next day.
Yeah. Aya, anything?
Yeah. First, tolerance. Be patient. Be prepared. You always gotta be prepared, and sometimes you might have like different portfolios, different ideas. Just keep them. Don't be shy. Just ask for help. Ask people all around you. Ask people who already had the experience before or did something. Collaborate. Do collaborations. I think a lot of stuff I said now. So yeah.
I would add like flexibility also is a must, specifically in this field. Yeah.
Smile.
Smile.
Yeah. Also, and I don't know how to say this, but sometimes it's okay to be delusional, I'd say. Like there's a healthy level of it. And I feel like in the beginning, especially as artists, we often stop ourselves from doing things because we think, oh, maybe I'm not talented enough, or I'm not this or that. But yeah, be delusional a little bit.
Irrational confidence.
Yeah, exactly. It's very healthy, actually, more than you think. So have some of that too. And it's okay sometimes to do it, yeah.
So raise your hand if you've heard somebody who you love or you respect say this to you without meaning to hurt you, but say this to you: this is not art. Like you did something and they look at it, this is not art, this is blank. I'll tell you why I'm asking this question. It's based off how you introduced yourself, right? So even like when I'm walking through the exhibit, like somebody said to me as I was walking through, they're like, believe it or not, this is actually art, right? Or like, this may not look like art, but it is actually art. Or this may not look like your traditional oil painting on the wall, or this doesn't look like what you're used to. This doesn't look like a sculpture you would see in whatever. This is actually art. Do people misunderstand that term, and do they ascribe it? No, show had coding. You're coding? This is not art, that's coding. Right? You're doing things on MS Paint? This is not... like, do people say that to you?
Maybe not in that way. I hope not, but yeah, I mean, I
it doesn't matter.
I certainly got the sense of some people, and I'd say it's very minority, that they think like pixel art specifically and digital art in general is a transitional point. It's like, oh, of course, but you're gonna do the real stuff, the oil painting later, right? That's kind of like the end goal of it, which is
like these are training wheels, and eventually you're gonna be writing the real thing. Yeah.
But
interesting.
But I also noticed that it comes from a different generation, older generation. So I try not to, So I kind of see it from their view at least. But yeah, there are certainly some of that, but not a lot,
I would say people generally don't understand sometimes, specifically actually during the process of doing it, like specifically actually working with code and node-based system, it feels very alien and doesn't look like art necessarily at the beginning. But the end product, maybe people feel or sense that there is something there, maybe ungraspable or yet to be discovered or something. And there is also like a lot of highlight around this, like traditional mediums and all of that, because I think it's also maybe tied also to the art market, because doing this kind of new mediums is pretty complicated to sell, I would say. Yeah.
What about you?
Well, for me, I believe that people who already not artists or not culture practitioner or people who are in the art, let's say, industry, I mean, it's just fun actually to hear from them, because they all came from different backgrounds. I mean, this is the goal, just to show and share our art with people who were not really used to it. I mean, this is also something for us and for them. We are just sharing. So I don't get like mad or angry sometimes. I just, okay, we just find a ground where we can actually introduce them to this new thing, and maybe after 100, 200 years, this will say, this is something in a collection, and this is art. So it's okay.
Speaking about 100 or 200 years, I asked you earlier, social media, positive or negative. I'll ask you another question that a lot of people are talking about, obviously, which is AI. A positive or negative net impact on the art world. We'll start with you.
Oh, that's a million.
I know this.
$1 million question, as they say. But positive or negative, I'd say at this time I feel like it's neutral. I mean, I like I said, like for me, especially like when coming from like online communities, I saw artists getting directly affected by it negatively by seeing their style being incorporated through AI.
It's like the Ghibli.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's also scary. Or also sometimes you see a style of a dead artist becoming alive again through that, which is, to me, it's like, okay, I don't know how to feel about that. But at the same time, I also see the potential of it too. So I feel we are in the kind of the middle of the storm, to be honest, at this moment. Yeah. And so I'd say I have to be diplomatic here and say neutral. Zero.
Because it's democratizing in some way.
Yes.
Like there's an illusion maybe that is democratizing, because you're like, everybody can go make their Ghibli avatar of them and their family. But then it's like, these are for-profit companies that are making them.
Yeah.
So,
and also like the discussion about it being art or not, like I see it from both sides. People say it's just a machine, and some people will go out at historical references where artists did something complete, which is, to me, I was like, you know what? Both of them are correct. So I don't know what to think. So
yeah. What about you?
I would say also like conflictual. Like I began actually to experiment with this before the hype somehow, like 3 years ago, like with Stable Diffusion. It was mostly like in local. There was no like online servers, and simple interface. It was quite complicated actually to make it running. And I found it really fascinating, like as a tool, but also concerning, I mean, from an ethical perspective about the data and like on what actually it has been trained and how fast it is growing. Like specifically, like lately I saw that they begin actually to also generate video with sound.
The Google VO thing that came out a couple of days ago.
Yeah, which is mind-blowing, like for me, like how things may evolve. Also, like when it comes to realizing what is real or not on the web, like with the dead internet theory that 50% of the flux within the web actually is non-real, or it doesn't come actually from people, but it comes from bots. And so I think actually we probably actually would have actually to adapt to some extent to what's going on, because you can't stop, let's say, the wheel of progress or whatever. But I think maybe like my prospects about the future, going back to reality would be more interesting at some point. And we will be like maybe less appealed by the simulation in social media or what's going on actually in front of a screen. Yeah.
Aya, what about you? What do you think?
Well, I always think about who's feeding the AI and the data, from where it's coming, who's controlling everything in it. So I would look at it first as a big data. And then I honestly totally agree with the ethical part and how we are using it. Yeah.
Okay, last question. I'm going to ask each of you, and I think we'll probably end here unless something else comes up. I want you to each, I'll start with you, Khaled, to each define the term art futures. Since we are at Dir'iyya Art Futures.
Yes. I think it's multifaceted and technological. So, yeah, I mean, I have to be very generic here because I feel like with something like that, if you specify it a little bit, you might really create like a choke point. So, yeah, I see technological and multifaceted.
Okay, cool.
I would be also like very generic, and I would say actually experiential, maybe more seamless and interactive. Yeah.
Aya?
I feel it's now. It's like I'm feeling it's now. Like when we always like say, art of the future or Dir'iyya art. It's happening actually now, and playing now with the tools that we have. This is like gonna be something we would say in the future. This is what next? What next?
Yeah.
So what next is now for me.
Okay, this is going to be my last question, actually.
Yeah.
It is, what do you think is one question that you wish people would stop asking you about your practice?
I can answer that. What does it mean? Because for me, like it's sometimes actually like an artwork is not supposed to be processed from the intellect, and sometimes it's just meant actually to contemplate it. I think that was one of the main purposes that art has been created, sort of a kind of alternative, kind of having a religious kind of experience of contemplation, of pausing, of getting out of the mundane and everyday life and just actually feeling it or absorbing what's going on. So whenever actually someone asks me what does it mean, like the artwork is what does it mean, and it's and I think actually if people actually take the time to just like contemplate the artwork, they may grasp something, maybe not actually what the artist meant, but it may be something fruitful for them. Yeah,
cool.
For me, it doesn't bother me that much, but it's what video game is it inspired from? Because it's my art. I mean, I do play video games, but not just because it picks art. It's video games. It's me personally. It's my experience. But like I said, it doesn't bother me that much if you saw it. Reminded you of a certain video games and you mentioned
Ferrari Testarossa.
Yeah,
the racing game, the Ferrari Testarossa.
Yeah.
What game was that?
I mean, there is a lot. Yeah. But people say, oh, okay, I painted like a scene from Riyadh. Would say, oh, this looks like a sci-fi video game, right? Is that what inspired from? No, just outside the street. That's what I'm inspired from. You know how to say.
The Baccara right there.
I have a bub.
What about you?
Okay. I feel it's things related to, is it like, first of all, a job, what you're doing? Because I'm doing multiple things, so it's a job to be an artist.
Yeah.
And what you're going to do after 10 years? Do you want to keep like doing what you're doing?
Yeah.
That's it.
This is actually going to be my last question. You keep on saying things that make me... Yeah, you keep on saying things that like make me more curious. So I'm curious if you were to like sum up, I haven't been able to see the work that you guys are working on right now, unfortunately. But if you were to try to explain the work that you're working on right now in this program that you're in, and pick a question that is kind of at the core of what you're investigating, what do you think that question is?
Maybe I would say like how can we live in symbiosis with technology? Like how technology actually can benefit humanity and the environment and not the other way around, I would say, I think, yeah.
That's what you're researching and sort of like trying to explore.
Yeah, generally,
so
actually,
cool.
like this is the kind of like direction that's because as much as I use technology a lot in my work, as much as I'm very critical about it, like the minerals from where it's coming and all of that, but also actually how technology can divert attention. But the thing that I'm working on specifically is actually around mysticism, but it is quite related because actually, let's say the mystical aspect of my work is pushing actually towards symbiosis and pushing actually towards harmony and pushing actually towards less conflictual kind of relation and the relations of exploitation, specifically actually with with technology, but also in human relations. Yeah.
Is this stuff that you were working on beforehand?
What do you mean?
Is this a new area of inquiry and a new area of research and a new area of sort of expression?
More or less, I would say actually it's a continuation, because
Cool.
from where it came from decolonization of imaginaries, and how can we actually dismantle the Western model of thinking and imagining the world, and how can we actually do it differently from our localities, our geographies, and during actually my period in here, it began actually as an investigation in Islamic mysticism, and specifically in the Andalusian peninsula, and the thought actually that emerged from there, and how can they help serve what's going on currently.
Well, how are you doing that research?
What do you mean how?
Like literally, like where are you getting the information?
I'm reading actually. At first, actually, it's mostly reading. Like conceptually speaking, it's
Yeah.
mostly actually reading. Like it's mostly actually it was around Ibn Arabi's work,
Yeah.
and the ideas actually around beauty and majesty, and the notion actually of ma'rifa, or the notion actually of gnosis and all of that, and converting it into symbolic. Like for example, I'm working on cos 6 as a metaphor for that. Cos 6 is the refraction of light in water, and how this kind of metaphor reflects maybe the same kind of Sufi idea of receiving the light as water bodies, let's say.
Amazing. Are you guys familiar with each other's work? Like as he's talking, are you like, I've heard him talk about this a million times?
I think not so much. I think we didn't introduce much of that, because it's still also in development.
Yeah.
Because every time there is a new layer and you realize that there is something else and you
Yes.
change it. And
Yeah.
But we did have like conversations about
Cool.
things like that. Yeah.
So what do you think your work is sort of like centering on, or is there a question that you're kind of trying to needle at and get to?
For me, it's really about like what it's like to be in a constant state of change, and then obviously the subject of change is like big now in Saudi because we're experiencing through it, but I wanted to take it of like a personal kind of way or general type of way, and how actually change is very uncontrollable and random as much as you try not to make it not be. And so I'm kind of exploring that theme of randomness, of change, of randomness, of even like things that are related to, even through that you might have like things like synchronicities and maybe predicting a little bit about where things can go through no will of yours, things like that.
Very cool.
So yeah, I mean, it's for me. This is a new thing because generally I generally focus on aesthetics and colors and things like that. But that's but I'd say because maybe I'm personally living through that. I mean, we all are to a certain extent, and I always found it like interesting that we only experience change when we look back, not as we are in the middle of it. But we are always there. We're always changing. So in this artwork, I'm like trying to kind of play with that idea. Yeah.
Do you feel like if somebody when they see the work, they'll be like, this is so different, this looks completely different? Or will they know, or is it sort of what you feel is different?
In what sense?
Compared to your previous work?
Oh yeah, it's very different. Yeah, but it still retains some of it. It has a pixel art element, yes, but I'd say it's more of a sculpture installation rather than something like that. But yeah, no, there is it's different, but it's also the same kind of.
Cool, amazing. Aya.
Okay, so my questions and my artwork actually it goes around the collective traumas of being in regions where we live in conflicts, let's say, and I'm talking like specifically about that moment of feeling actually, you know, your ground, you know, your history, but at the same time you're facing a continuous displacement and uprooting, let's say. And what does it mean actually? The fragility and, you know, your identity, or being living in a place, but you have to move and you have to, you know, keeping moving, and we are all like under one sun. So what does it mean?
Yeah. I know this far too well. Okay, before we wrap up, if you can just say where people can find you online, and if people want to reach out to you, we'll start with you.
It's in Instagram or Twitter or X. It's at KLD PXL, which is kind of short of Khaled Pixel.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Instagram, Youssef Idrissi. It's at YOUSSE Idrissi dash.
Perfect.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Aya Abu Ghazaleh, AYA, ABU. Do I have to say it all? Ghazaleh. Find me Arabic and English.
ABU Ghazaleh. Figure it out. You
Yeah.
can't figure it out, you shouldn't be speaking to me anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for my 10 last questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No,
Mike.
it's fun.
for the
It's fun.
invitation.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.